This is a Film Stories original podcast.
We made this.
Welcome back, everybody, to the X-Cast. As ever, the truth is in here. Yeah, and welcome back to specifically to our special Fight the Future Minute podcast series. I'm your host today, Carl Sweeney, and this is our coverage of minute 106 of the film, which begins at the 1 hour 45 minute mark as Mulder still gazes at the spaceship. And this is an interesting minute, I think, because it ends with the roles reversed to some extent. Mulder loses consciousness. Scully's a bit more alert by the end of it. And to discuss this minute, I'm joined by Marlene Stemme. Hey, Marlene.
Hey, Carl.
Yeah, good to talk to you again. I think the first thing I wanted to say was what I liked about this minute is I mentioned before that I think Mulder's expression kind of changes, and I just liked how kind of happy he was in this minute. It seemed like he was quite happy looking at the UFO. He kind of, I don't know, he was kind of gnawing on his lip. I enjoyed that expression, I think. Mm-hmm. So what really struck you about this minute, Marlene?
That was a big thing. So, Mulder, I think he sees the spaceship and he's delighted. I think he realizes that he's done what he's gone to do. Scully is safe. She's with him. He sees the spaceship. And then, of course, he kind of like sidles up to her. And that's probably my favorite bit in the movie is when she's lying there with like face down in the ice. And he puts his arm around her and he's like, Scully, you got to see this. Scully, and he's trying to get her to see this spaceship going overhead. And for a moment, it was almost like they weren't where they were, and it's just this moment of him wanting to see this thing that has been a big revelation for him. And he just has that, like you said, that look of, to me, it's like a look of wonderment. And he's kind of biting his lip, with the delight of it. Yeah, and just happy. He's kind of happy, not even just relieved. It's that sort of like look of joy that he has that I like so much. And it also, I noticed at this part that it changes to more of an orchestral score again, because we had sort of that spaceship music and some of that type of thing. But this is when the music kind of changes to go with his expression. Yeah.
I think you mentioned the line there about Scully, you got to see this. I think that might be the only line of dialogue we have in these 4 minutes we're doing this sequence. So I thought that was notable. On the commentary, so I think I've written down that Rob Bowman said that this was a great moment for the movie. I think he may have been talking about this sequence more broadly, but just again, because of the challenge and the difficulty of kind of pulling it off.
Yeah.
Apparently these close-ups of Mulder and Scully were shot on like a this was months after the end of principal photography, apparently. Was shot on like a 6 foot by 6 foot piece of snow. So I kind of like that idea that, it's, there's a bit of trickery there to make us think it's all integrated together, but maybe this was done much afterwards. I don't know if that book you have kind of sheds any light on that at all, or not.
It talks about, again, about green screening the shooting of that, so that you have the imagery and the background location from the glacier, and it's composited into the background when they're shooting on the smaller soundstage. It doesn't mention I don't think it mentions the 6 foot by 6 foot block of ice, but on the soundstage, there are definitely different positions and different structures that they have, like where David and Jillian are positioned. And I think we mentioned on a previous minute that they spent several days running the length of the icy set, and being fired upon. So I think that with snow and cold water and such. So I think that, maybe aside from the cold of having to lie there in the ice, at least they were in one small bit of it.
Yeah. The other thing, Rob, but we talked a little about this already, but this thing about Scully not seeing. And I'll just flag this up because we're going to talk about this debate, but it very much seems like everybody on the commentary tracks is of the opinion that Scully doesn't see the UFO. What Rob Bowman says is that it would have been maybe too much to have her unconscious, a bit like, it might have seemed a bit too convenient. So they wanted her in this kind of semi-conscious state instead, this kind of dazed state that she's in.
Yeah.
I mean, the debate I'm talking about, so I've written down the words, I saw it, ?
Right.
Now this, as I understand it, this must just be in America, because I've watched this film with the closed captions on, off my Blu-ray, and there's no indication that Scully says the words, "I saw it." But I think what I see sort of circulating online from time to time is that the closed caption, I'm not sure if this is where it's streaming on Netflix or something, or wherever it streams in the US, but somewhere there's a closed caption track where Scully is supposed to have said, "I saw it." So, I don't know, Marlene, what's your sense of that? Like, is that from streaming? Is that from the US DVD? Do you know?
I don't know about streaming because I haven't streamed it from a service before. As I mentioned to you, I loaned my DVD to someone, and so when I went to watch the commentary track or any other special part of it, I didn't have it available for this particular recording. But I want to say that and I could be making this up, it could be a false memory, but I want to say that I remember seeing that I saw it in the commentary track, but it could be that I've just also read other people saying that they saw that. But my sense of it, and I'm kind of going back to when I very first saw the movie, my understanding was that she tells him that she saw it. And so that's kind of when he turns his head and face plants happily into the ice and loses consciousness. It's after she turns her head to him and replies. So I don't know how she would have really, seen it with any clarity because of her experience and the fact that she's really even kind of half-lidded in the way that she's looking at her eyes aren't even completely open. But that was my feeling, and it still is my feeling, is that she said, I saw it, said it twice. And spoiler alert, of course, for season 6, she, in the premiere, I think, backtracks on that. But I don't know if that's out of character. I mean, I think she would probably be either questioning it or sort of maybe doubting the emotion of the experience, too. So it makes sense to me that she saw it. But, I mean, either way, I guess it makes sense. But that, when I first saw it, is what I thought, and so that's kind of been my feeling about it ever since, is that she did say that she saw it.
I mean, I turned the volume up till it was ear-splittingly loud today, and I couldn't hear her say that. I watched it a couple of times.
So the other thing is, and I paid attention to this today, is that the musical score swells considerably in volume right at that point when she turns to him and says something. So it's ambiguous at best. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think if it's a deliberate artistic choice to have her say that she saw it, but to kind of put it so low in the mix that people can't hear it, I quite like that as an idea. I
sort of do too. I don't know if I like the trickery, but I like the ambiguity of it. And I also wonder now if this is far-fetched. I just thought of it, but I wonder too if her seeing it, it's like she knows that he's seen something, and so she's kind of not necessarily seeing it through his eyes, but she knows that he's looking at something and that something has gone on. So it's like a show of faith in him for her to say, "I saw it," and then later in the cold light of day, maybe she didn't actually, see it with her own senses.
Yeah, I don't think, certainly the first time, I don't think I took away that she saw it. I think my feeling was that she hadn't. And I think if the people who wrote and directed the film are sort of just laughing away as if she hadn't seen it, that, I don't know. I suppose you've got to go by what's actually on the screen, but that seems like a significant kind of off-screen thing we can kind of draw on, but I don't know.
I think it's interesting, the idea, though, that she said that, but maybe she didn't actually see it. But I don't think it's in a cynical way.
Yeah.
I think she really believes it at that time, if she said something.
Yeah, I think I can see that. Yeah, just generally the laughter on the commentary track and all that continued into this minute. Scully's experience. Was there anything else, Marlene, that you picked up from the making of, or the making of book?
Most of the detail of that was for the previous minute, I think, when they're running across the ice, and then just them having their faces in the ice. And I mentioned in the last minute that her face went numb from having to have her face in the ice for so long. But they don't really discuss, because again, this book came out with the movie, so they're not discussing really thoughts on perceptions of the film after the fact. And I think that it would be different today if we had, even a making of book. I think that there would have sort of post-modern, maybe, or post-movie at least, interpretations of some of the, the speculation that we're discussing.
Yeah, I think it's, from the sounds of it, this book sounds like it's very much part of the promotional apparatus.
Yeah,
it
is. It's detailed, and it goes through, the movie had been finished by the time it came out, but it really is about, like, all of the different, like, the time scale of the filming, the difficulties, and what each department had to do, and what the actors' experiences were like, and that sort of thing. So it doesn't really go into anything in terms of, like, the viewing or the reception or anything after that. It's just all very interior to the making of the movie.
Okay. All right. So, we've discussed Antarctica in the last couple of minutes. I just had some more generalised facts about snow, which I thought were interesting. This is from bbcearth.com. And I'll tell you, the first fact here, Marlene, literally blew my mind.
Okay. I can't wait.
You might know it. I don't know. The first fact is that snow is not white. Did you know that?
Well, tell me what color it is, and I'll tell you if that rings a bell.
Okay. So
I don't remember if I know it or not. I'm going to say that I don't know it.
As any good snow pedant will tell you, snow is not actually white, but rather translucent. Okay. It's the light reflecting off it that makes it appear white, with the many sides of the snowflake scattering light in many directions, diffusing the entire colour spectrum. It says, snow can also appear in a wide variety of spectacular hues. Dust, pollution, or cold-loving freshwater algae can colour it black, orange, or blue. Pink or watermelon snow, caused by algae containing astaxanthin, a chemical similar to the one found in carrots, was mentioned in the early writings of Aristotle. That's incredible to me.
Very interesting.
Orange snow, I want to see that.
I know.
Second one, so snowflake, about the design of snowflakes. One of the determining factors in the shape of individual snowflakes is the air temperature around it. The study of flakes has identified that long, thin, needle-like ice crystals form at around -2 degrees Celsius, which is 28 degrees Fahrenheit, whilst a lower temperature of -5 Celsius, 23 Fahrenheit, will lead to very flat, plate-like crystals. Further changes in temperature as the snowflake falls determines different shapes of the 6 arms or dendritic structure of the crystal. And I don't really have any particular thoughts on that, but just to say that I think, like, snowflakes are one of the wonders of nature, just like the idea that they're all so unique and stuff. I love a good snowflake.
I agree. I think it's fascinating. And I like snow. I probably wouldn't like it if I were running through it for days, but I like it. I don't mind being cold to be in snow. I don't live in an area that often gets snow, but I have in the past, and I still found it kind of wondrous when I was there. And I think the part about the light diffusion is really interesting too, because I think that, when it's snow, the snow is reflecting more light, obviously, into the atmosphere. So I think that it's kind of mood boosting for a lot of people as well. Again, when you're not in it for days, but...
Yeah, I love snow. I think it's always... Because we get it, but not... You can easily go a year without snow where I live, I guess it's probably different in, like, Scotland. In the UK, you probably get a bit more, but I think that it's always a special occasion for me, especially if it means, work gets called off or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, that's, it's... Even though this is like a story of hardship in this movie, it's still kind of a special joy to see that much snow in my mind, because I enjoy that. I enjoy the atmosphere of it, and I enjoy the sort of the quiet, and in this, the way they mix, like, the quiet of the snow with the sounds and so forth. But I think, like, just in life, I enjoy the dampening effect it has on sounds.
Do you think, like, because we talked about Antarctica as kind of an apt setting for the climax of the film, and Carter had done something similar, Carter and Spotnitz, in Colony and Endgame, where that film is bookended with the Arctic sequences. I guess it's the extremity of the situation is what appeals to them, but it always feels very Frankenstein to me as well. Like the book Frankenstein has this kind of Arctic sequence too. And I feel like maybe we know how much Frankenstein is, something Carter thinks about and has incorporated into some of his scripts. So I've always wondered if that was a conscious kind of influence,
That's really interesting. I don't think that I knew that. I haven't actually read Frankenstein. I've read a lot about it, but more about sort of the scientific themes, I think, things of that sort. With Colony and Endgame, I could see that. I could see the extremeness, obviously is similar to this. I wonder, though, if there is that kind of common background. And then also, this is jumping way far ahead, but also I Want to Believe, that's kind of has its own... in a different way, its own, like, very snowy landscape throughout, and it's used differently, but that also ties in, and that's a bit of a Frankenstein story too.
Yeah, I think the snowbound section of Frankenstein is often kind of omitted from, like, screen adaptations, I think. Like, from the kind of Boris Karloff type adaptations, I think it's kind of not in there, so maybe that's why it's not as kind of well-known culturally, perhaps. I don't know. What do you think the biggest snowflake ever recorded? Like, how big do you think snowflakes can get, Marlene?
Are we talking like diameter-wise, or what kind of measurement are you looking for?
Across. It just says, it's in inches across.
Inches across, okay. Let's see. I'm going to say... I feel like I'm supposed to be extreme in my guess here, but I'm going to say 6.
No, you've gone... Yeah, it's bigger than that. It's 15 inches across. Measuring... Yeah, on one occasion, 15 inches across was recorded.
For an intact snowflake?
I believe so, yeah. Oh. It says, while many have doubted these reports and pointed out the lack of corroborating evidence, scientists now claim there's nothing to stop flakes growing that big. As flake size isn't part of the meteorological measuring designations for snow, these massive flakes may well be out there, but just unreported, unseen, or broken up by wind currents as they descend.
See, that's what I would think. That's why I asked if it was intact, because that seems like quite a feat to have a 15...
To get to the ground, yeah.
Like, measurable snowflake by the time, yeah.
Yeah, let's... Alright, so I think I'll bring some more of these facts about snow into the following minute, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, let's leave it there, Marlene, for today. But we'll be back for one more minute. We'll be back from minute 107 as this sequence comes to a conclusion. So that'll be fun, I think. So yeah, listeners, find us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram as you normally would. But that wraps up our latest Fight the Future Minute. Thanks for listening, everybody. Remember, as always, trust no one.
Elsewhere on We Made This. Shipwrecked and Comatose, a Red Dwarf podcast.
We've already got 3 versions, I think, haven't we? So
we've got Ace as well.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking just up to this episode. So we've got the Living Rimmer, a hologram Rimmer, and a backup hologram Rimmer. So we've already got 3 Rimmers in the space of 6 episodes.
That's more Rimmers than many people would want.
Yeah, but it's certainly worth diving into, because as you get into, as you say, Ace Rimmer, there's a couple of versions of Ace Rimmer. There's
Evil Future Rimmer.
Without a mouse.
I don't know if I've ever heard Gaelic spoken before, but I don't think this man was speaking Gaelic.
I don't speak Gaelic, so I'm afraid I cannot speak to that. But given how absolutely obsessive Stevenson seems to have been in most other regards, I think he might have been speaking some form of gibberish.
Yeah, we've seen in this show, especially in One of Our Dinosaurs is Missing, some very horrific...
Yes.
And Herbie as well, actually, in the Love Bug. Lots of dialogue that is clearly made up language, supposed to be Chinese. So my bum was clenching a bit when I heard this supposed Gaelic, because I'm pretty sure it's not.
Free with this month's issue.
I decided to have a look to see if I could find that interview online anywhere, and I couldn't, but in my searching, the photo from that interview was collected on a website called thestrokesartilluminati.blogspot.com.
The Strokes are a bunch of overrated hacks, then?
No, they're actually Illuminati, apparently, according to this website.
That explains a lot, right?
They are the secret rulers of the world.
Yeah, current climate, that seems to be the work of the Strokes.
Yeah. Maybe that's all what was hidden in the album.
It's almost certainly.
New York City cops meant something else.
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This podcast network.